Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog. Well, Joe Biden is president as of noon today, January 20th. It's Wednesday. You're seeing this on Thursday, the day after, but Joe Biden is president now of the United States. He's only been president for a few hours, so as of the time I'm recording this, so it may seem a little odd to say or to ask, how is he doing? But well, here's a tweet from Scott Adams. Scott Adams is the creator of the Dilbert comic strip. Here's what he had to say so far. This is from before Biden officially became president. So far, Biden has refused to halt a divisive impeachment, questioned the loyalty of the troops, sparked an immigration crisis, and surrendered to China via energy policy. He hasn't even started yet. That should kind of give you an idea what the next 4 years are going to be like. If you're like me, you can hardly wait, right? So we have a caravan trying to make its way to the border. We have China excited that Trump is no longer there to be tough on them, at least not for the next 4 years at least. And I'm going to get to that in a second. But here's the other. Did he put this in here? No, he didn't mention this. Scott Adams left something out. What did Adams leave out? He left out Biden's intent. Well, maybe he didn't mention it because it hasn't happened yet. Biden hasn't done it yet. But he has said that he's going to cancel the Keystone pipeline. So much for following science. They keep saying our liberal friends follow the science. The science says that there's no problem with the Keystone pipeline, but look at this headline. Biden faces opposition to killing Keystone XL he faces opposition from labor and Democrats. It's practically the last thing people care about, but in putting the job-creating Keystone XL pipeline on the top of his list of President Trump's achievements to kill, President-elect Joe Biden is jeopardizing support from his own party, from his party and union workers. According to a new survey, 62% of Democrats and 71% of labor want the oil pipeline from Canada to Texas to be completed. But Biden has put it on his first week hit list as part of a combination of attacks on Trump's policies, a revival of Obama-era programs, and his own agenda. In the survey of 1,400 people done for Alberta, the Canadian province where the pipeline begins, Americans showed little interest in prioritizing the issue until they were told about Biden's plan. In fact, the whole issue of climate change and the environment, which the pipeline is closely aligned with, is nearly last on the public's list of interest, tied with, quote, other, unquote, which is odd because Biden has made climate his top policy issue and put many officials in charge of the issue. And that, I predict, is going to be Biden's problem throughout his presidency, going forward for his entire presidency, the tension between this wish list from the far left of his party and the just common sense of all the rest of us. He's going to have to juggle that, and we can see that with the Keystone pipeline, even his own party, a big chunk of it, and definitely most of his union supporters, that's a base of the party, they oppose it. And what he considers, or what his left-wing base considers to be important, climate change, it ranks way down there with quote-unquote other. And he's going to have to ram this through if he wants to with an evenly divided Senate, evenly divided Senate. Kamala Harris would be required to break any ties on any major issue, but unless she wants to be there every day, if she's going to break ties on every issue. But that also depends on a tied Senate. It depends on the so-called moderates, such as Joe Manchin, not siding with the Republicans. So we'll see what happens there. And then in the House, the Democrats have only a 10-seat majority, I think. So if that's the case, I think there might be an undecided election still out there. But we'll just say for now, 10-seat majority. So the Republicans, if they all stick together, only need 6 votes from these Democrats who claim to be moderate Democrats, this problem solver caucus. I don't know. He's going to have a hard time ramming this stuff through. I think he's going to be forced to resort to executive orders, and there's only so much that he'll be able to accomplish with that. I guess one of them would be that he could cancel the Keystone pipeline, but as you could see, that he's going to get a lot of pushback from a good part of his base. Now I want to get to today's subject, which is this idea that I guess I'm going to be talking about this again. I've done it for 2 vlogs already. So this is, I guess, part 3, the idea of Trump forming a third party. It looks like he's going to do it. He's got 4 years. His businesses have been running fine without him for 4 years. His kids can run the businesses. He obviously likes getting attention. He likes holding rallies. I don't think he's going to disappear from the political scene as much as his enemies in the Democratic Party and the Never-Trumpers, and apparently in some of the elite establishment Republicans. I would include Mitch McConnell after what he said. I showed you the video yesterday pinning the riot, and I'm going to have something to say about that, by the way, in the next vlog. This whole idea of riots. There's riots and there's riots. Well, you'll find out about that tomorrow. I'll just keep you in suspense. But it looks like he's going to do it, and he's got 4 years, plenty of time to raise money. And remember, he's a multi-billionaire himself. But I'm sure he could get a lot of contributions. I certainly would contribute. I probably would remain an independent. I don't know if I'm going to join a political party, but I certainly would contribute just to have a third party. I think it's time to have a viable third party. I discussed that in my earlier 2 vlogs, which you should go back and watch, because I'm not going to repeat what I've already said. I am going to mention a couple more advantages, though, of having a strong third party. One of them is the Electoral College. Our Democratic friends want to get rid of the Electoral College. A lot of them are calling for that. Their logic is that the president should be elected, or their belief is that the president should be elected by the whole country, never mind the sovereignty of all these individual states. They want to essentially get rid of the federal system, and we would just be all one country. And then the majority, this is their idea, just the people in California and New York, the liberals, the highly populated liberal areas of the country, could impose their agenda, their policy preferences on the whole country, on the rest of us, on people like me in Tennessee, which I can guarantee you that Tennessee does really not want to be governed by the left. But their logic is that whoever gets elected president should have more than 50% of the vote. That's their whole mantra, that Hillary Clinton got more than 50% of the vote, but she lost in the Electoral College. And Joe Biden got, well, his time he won in the Electoral College, but, George W. Bush, going back to the election of 2000, that he lost the popular vote, but he won in the Electoral College. That's their mantra. But if you have third parties, well, we had it once with Ross Perot in the election of '92 when Bill Clinton was elected. He only got 43% of the vote. So he was a Democratic president who was elected with less than 50% of the vote, because Ross Perot was able to form a political party that got 20% of the vote and prevented anybody else, even the winner, from getting more than 50%. So if we have a viable third party that is around for every election, because we have a Green Party, we have all these fringe parties, but I think that Trump could make or create a very viable third party that would prevent any candidate from getting more than 50% of the vote. And if that happens, then that entire argument goes out the window, and then you have the national vote compact that some of these states, all blue states, have signed on to, that however their own state votes, their votes would all go to the winner of the popular vote. The trigger of that would be that when there are enough states signed on to this to equal 270 votes, then they would all join this compact. The compact would take effect, and then whichever candidate got over 50% of the votes would win. And that's their idea, regardless of how their own citizens voted. But again, if you have three parties, then nobody's going to get 270 electoral votes. Or, well, somebody could, but the odds are a lot smaller. So this national vote compact would not be triggered. So that is another advantage. And I think I got another one here. Oh, and the last one, this is a very important one, could be the most important one, because I've been skeptical. I've always pushed back on this idea. There are some people who float this term called Uniparty, that there's no Democratic Party, no Republican Party, or there are just in name only, but they really form a Uniparty, that they are so closely aligned, they are so similar that they are essentially one party, and they both want to stay in power. One of the two parties will be in the driver's seat or the other, but they don't want any third party butting in, right, and sharing power with them. But if Trump is able to form a viable third party that seems to be gaining traction, then it will be interesting to see what the Democrats and the Republicans do, because they are supposed to be two distinct parties with two distinct policies, two distinct philosophies, so they should not be working together to, well, put it this way, if Trump's new party starts to gain traction, then you watch, say, Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer, and you see, well, if Chuck Schumer picks up the phone and calls Mitch McConnell, or Mitch picks up the phone and calls Chuck and says, let's get together and have lunch, we got this third upstart party, we need to put our differences aside and create rules or do something to prevent this third party becoming powerful enough that neither of us can, that we have to take this party into account, that they become a swing vote that could influence, well, that we would have to kowtow to, or not kowtow to, but we would have to at least listen to. If neither party can gain a majority, if they both have to fight for the Patriot Party's voters, they have a lot to say, especially if, as I said in, I think, the last vlog, if you have a evenly or very evenly divided Congress and you can get just one or two senators in there, then they become a swing vote, and they could stop a spending bill. They could do whatever they want. Well, they would have a lot of influence, and I don't think that they would be susceptible to being punished by the White House if they don't want to go along. In my opinion, if the press, the liberal press, which is most of the press, started saying, if, let's say, if there was a budget stalemate and the party was demanding spending cuts or domestic spending cuts and an increase in military spending, and the media started chastising them and say these evil party members, they're gumming up the whole works, whatever they want to say, I don't think the party is going to care, and I don't think Donald Trump personally is going to care a whole lot. And then, well, I don't want to start repeating what I've said in an earlier vlog. I just see nothing but upside to a third party, a strong third party that's going to represent these tens of millions of people. I could say that maybe there could be 50 million people who feel they are being ignored by the two major parties, which is the other thing. I could see Trump drawing, or a party drawing members from both parties, not just the Republicans. If you're assuming it's only going to be the Republicans that are hurt, I can see it hurting the Democrats too. I could see, well, I could just see interesting times ahead. So I am all for a third party. Let me know when the time comes to make donations. I will gladly donate, and I will gladly watch the rallies on TV. That's a third advantage that I should mention that I haven't mentioned before. That Donald Trump, I think, because Biden is such a nothing, such a senile, dull as dishwater milquetoast, such a, well, dementia, on the verge of dementia, political hack, that I think Trump would get all the coverage. I think people would not, well, I already don't care about anything that Biden says, but I think the news media would have to cover anything Trump does, because that's going to be where all the action is and where all the interest is. As much as they try to puff up Biden to get people to watch Biden's speeches, I don't think many people are going to watch. But if and when Trump speaks, I think everybody is going to watch, or most people are going to watch, and I think you're even going to see MSNBC and CNN, because they are so obsessed with Trump, and because, well, their viewership depends on covering Trump. I would think that they're going to give him a lot of coverage, that they'll be talking more about Trump and condemning Trump than they will be about praising Biden. I think Biden is just going to be just a figurehead that everybody's going to ignore if they're not walking all over him. I'm talking about the Chinese and the Iranians. But I am now talking about all of you and how I appreciate you spending your time with me. I really do appreciate it. And I would love to get a thumbs up if you like this video. Share it with anybody you think would also like the video. Got any comments? Comment section below the video where you can put questions, suggestions for future topics. You could subscribe. I love getting new subscribers. You could listen to my music channel of original music. There's a link in the description as well, and you can come back and see me again. I would love to see all of you again, and until I do see all of you again, I will just say how much I look forward to seeing all of you again, and bye.